Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good tomorrow. It's Wednesday here, and in the live stream tonight, we're talking about the forgotten storage in your kitchen. Where is it at? What is it? Something happened to me this week that brought this up, so we're going to talk about it and dive right in here in a minute. But I do want to say, you guys are awfully friendly in the chat. I'm looking here in the chat, just there's blueberry muffins and there's hello and how are yous, and I'd love to come visits, and it's amazing. So you guys keep at it. And we're going to talk about these forgotten storage solutions that everybody has. I think all of us would probably relate to what we're going to talk about a little bit. But before that, we're going to do a little bit of a recap. We're going to talk about some of the things that it takes in order to get a functional kitchen. And then we'll dive sort of into, we'll dive right into the forgotten storage that's in your kitchen. All right, so let's jump right in. If you have a question on the live stream, you know the drill. Put a few question marks before it and after if you can. I will eventually see it, but at the end of the live stream or after I get through this little bit of talking bit here, I will pay a little more attention to questions. So if you do have something you want to ask about maybe your kitchen design or something to do with anything kitchen related, drop it in the chat at that time and we will do our best to answer it for you. All right, that's one of the great benefits of the live stream is that we can kind of connect a little bit and answer questions on the fly in the live. And if you have a question and you're watching this in replay, put it in the comment section. Okay, dokie. All right, let's jump into this. Forgotten storage solutions. This is what you want your kitchen to look like. I mean, maybe not this exact kitchen, but when you set out to do a kitchen renovation, you have this end goal in mind. And it might be this kitchen, it might be a farmhouse kitchen, it might be this is a little farmy housey, it might be an ultra modern kitchen, contemporary, it might be small, might be big, you name it, might be blue, might be white. The key is that you want to end up with a finished product that's Instagram worthy. Take a picture, show your friends, have people over, everything works perfectly and functionally for you. But there's a process in order to get there. And while we're thinking about kitchen design, we're going to just do a little bit of a recap. I've been talking about this for the last little while. And I'm going to continue to talk about it into the future here because I think it's really important that we get these steps down and we understand that we want to have a very functional kitchen, but there's some things we need to optimize for. And those are the following 5 things. And, there could be more than this, but these are kind of the big things we want to optimize for. And we've been talking about these the last little while. So this is a little bit of refresher for you before the big exam. Number 1 is workflow efficiency. So we want to optimize for just the workflow of the kitchen. Maybe it's the kitchen triangle. It could be work zones. It's the way things are placed, where things are placed, and giving preference to how you use the space and how many of you are going to be using the space. And so we want to optimize for that and think about our design in terms of just the workflow, how we're going to move, how we're going to live in that kitchen, how that kitchen is going to work for us. This might have to do with layout, and we've been talking about layout the last little while about what layout is the best layout and what layout is the best layout for the nuances of your home, what layout serves you the best in terms of overall usage. And there's lots of options out there, and just because an L shape might work in your kitchen, there could be other options, say, for your specific space. And so it's important that you optimize for workflow efficiency. All right, that's number 1. Now the next one is storage accessibility. It's not only that we want to have storage in our kitchen, it's also important that it's accessible storage. So we all know there's the storage that's hard to access above the fridge and under the sink sometimes, and deep corners, or maybe even pantries or base cabinets, or the top of wall cabinets. So there's all these little sore spots in a kitchen, and we want to optimize for the accessibility of that storage. So not only is it organized and there's enough of it, but how accessible is it? So it's one thing to be able to put a crock pot up on top of a cabinet somewhere, but it's another thing to be able to get that thing within, with relative ease whenever we want to get it without having to risk our lives on a step stool or a ladder or some other, variable. And so we discuss ways of bringing those things to us through pull down units or lift ups or drawer pullouts or on and on and on. There's different ways of doing that. but this is very important. Storage accessibility is one of the big 3, in my opinion, when it comes to just, having a kitchen that's very functional, it's gonna work for you for years to come. So we wanna optimize for that. Next is worktop opportunity. So this has to do with countertop. I just didn't want to put countertop as a title. I wanted to kind of make it sound smart. So worktop opportunity. This has to do with things like the prep area, the service area, the place where things get social, the place where things get served, cleaning up, setting things down, whatever the case may be. Just the place where stuff is going to live, the place where you put your phone and charge your phone, you put your coffee maker. I see Helen here in the chat has a new KitchenAid mixer or some, beautiful device. That's got to go somewhere, and it's probably going to go on her countertop. And so we want to have opportunity for whatever the use is, whatever the case may be, we want to have ample countertop in our kitchens. And so we need to plan for that and determine that beforehand to the best of our abilities. All we can do is plan to the best of what we can do, and then use the kitchen and enjoy the kitchen. So workflow efficiency, storage accessibility, worktop opportunity. And the next thing is appliance placement. This is another one of the big 3. These 3 middle ones here, storage, worktop, and appliance placement. Really the big 3 when it comes to getting a really functional kitchen. Appliance placement is absolutely critical where appliances are placed. And a lot of the time, these things are sort of intuitive where the fridge and stove and sink and dishwasher and wall ovens and other things go. But they do need to be planned specifically and thinking about how many people use this specific appliance and how it's grouped together with other things to form its own work center and those type of ideas. This is where the triangle idea would come into play, and how efficient it is to work, from one thing to the other. And so appliance placement absolutely critical for a super functional kitchen. And last but not least is visibility and ventilation. I mean, I kind of lump these in together because and we can make more to this list, but these are really important aspects of any kitchen. You want to be able to see what you're doing, and you need to be able to vent that, smoke or fumes or moisture out of that room properly so that it's healthy and safe, and also so you can see what you're doing, so you're not cutting your fingers off and doing whatever. So it's always nice to be able to see what you are doing in your kitchen. That's just one of the big things that people want to be able to do, obviously, and so having enough light is very, very important. So we optimize for workflow efficiency, we're optimizing for storage accessibility, worktop opportunity, appliance placement, and ventilation, visibility and ventilation. And if you've done all that, at the end of the day, you've done a great thing. At the end of the day, you've completed your kitchen. You have this beautiful space that you can live in. And I could put any kitchen picture here, but this one just caught my eye. You can work in the space. There's lots of clearance. There's lots of storage. It's all accessible. Everything you want is there. It's got some open shelves, so that's questionable. But needless to say, you have this beautiful kitchen, and you live in this kitchen, and then something happens. Something happens that you should have been aware of. You should have known this was going to happen, but something happens, and it just happened to Helen. Actually, it happened to Helen here. She's in the chat. She's talking about her KitchenAid mixer. There's something that happens in that you didn't prepare for. Juicers happen. Juicers happen. It's a real thing. We got a juicer this week. Amy wanted a juicer for some time now. We ordered a juicer. It came from Amazon. It's a Breville juicer. It's beautiful. Made some beautiful beet, carrot, and celery ginger juice. It was awesome. And so now we have this juicer, and Amy's doing all the things and playing with the juicer and making juice. And she says to me, "Where are we going to put this thing?" I'm like, "Oh no." We never thought of a juicer when we were designing the kitchen. We never thought that down the road there'd be a juicer in the mix. But oh no, now there's a juicer that we have to deal with, and it has to go somewhere. So we're trying to figure out, well, it can't go in this cabinet because that's all full. The pantry's all full. There's no room here. I mean, I guess we can store it in the hall closet, and that's like, I can tell this juicer's gonna be used daily because it's a juicer, so we wanna be able to use it, but we weren't planning on a juicer. Helen may not have been planning on a KitchenAid mixer. I mean, maybe in the back of your head, you're, like, hoping someday. But in the kitchen design and the kitchen layout phase, maybe you are not planning to have this specific appliance, and so the juicer arrives. And we have to move things around and figure out where the juicer's gonna go, and we found a place within the kitchen, kind of by fluke, really, like, it was just so happened that we had a space that we could actually put it. But what else is out there waiting on the shelf? What else is out there on Amazon that I'm not aware of that someday will end up in my kitchen? What else is out there that you weren't planning for to store in your kitchen, the forgotten items, the items you didn't know you needed to forget, the items you didn't know you need storage for, but so you forgot about them. And then they show up. They reminded you, no, we want to be part of your life. You need a juicer. You need XXXXX appliance. And now you got to deal with me. And can you? Do you have room? Did you think ahead in your design phase that there might be something into this kitchen that I don't have yet that I might get someday? Now you can't possibly you know go through a list of things you don't have and plan for them. I mean, what kind of that would be a crazy kitchen because you don't know what you're going to need or going to want later on. You don't know what new inventions of appliances are going to pop into the mix and you're going to want them all of a sudden. You don't know there's an I mean, we have a slow cooker and we have a fast cooker, the Instapot thing. It's like they both do the exact same thing, I think. They cook things that we have, you have the rice maker and the Vitamix and the blender and all these things, and they keep compounding and you don't think about them, but they need a place to live in your kitchen. So you need to optimize for items you don't yet own, and that's challenging to do. How do you optimize for items that you don't yet own? How do you plan for storage of things that you don't even know you're going to purchase? That is the big question. That's the forgotten storage. Yes, you can easily store the things you know that you have in your kitchen, but it's a lot more challenging when a Vitamix comes in the mail or a juicer comes in the mail or you're walking through whatever appliance store and it catches your eye, one of those Smeg toasters or whatever they're called, $300 toaster. You're like, that looks great. I mean, most people have a place for a toaster, but you understand the point I'm trying to make is that there's things that are going to come into your kitchen that you have to think about. Now, this is where, real good planning of cabinets so that they're generally a good place to store anything is, you know, critical. So in other words, if you just have, and I love having all drawers. This came up today in a client conversation where it is actually easier to store small appliances on a pullout behind doors than it is in a drawer. So where you could put a pullout in a drawer, having it on a pullout behind doors, it's a little easier to access the appliance because you don't have the drawer box in your way. Normally, a pullout has a shallower depth to it, so it's easier to grab things if that's the case. Or is there a place in your kitchen where it could be fit later on for an appliance lift, Helen? Do you have 18 inches of cabinet space that you could probably figure out a place to store the stuff that's in there in order to put in an appliance lift or something like that for your mixer? So it's thinking ahead and planning for storage of small appliances. Even if you don't have all the ones you want, it's okay that you have a few empty spaces on a shelf in your pullout or, in your cabinet with a pullout. It's okay that there's some empty spots in there for future, use. And oftentimes in your kitchen, we're trying to like use every single part and we have lots of things and we have more things than we need. And so we need to declutter and be able to organize better and all that kind of thing. But it's also important just to plan ahead and say, well, having extra space for things is okay too. And even though I can't fill this cabinet. It's not, oh my, what am I going to do? It's no, this is good because now I have space if I need to rearrange and thinking about that ahead of time is good planning. It's not something that I really, not that I didn't think about it, but I never really paid a whole lot of attention to it with even in designing kitchens. And so this kind of, piques something in my brain and think, well, this would be great, as a kitchen designer, even, when I'm talking to clients and we're planning out storage, is also just add that to the list. The things that might come up later that they're going to need a place for. And so they either need to take the place of something else, or they need to have somewhere that's accessible. And so having, you know, like I said, pullouts is a great way to do it behind, in a base cabinet. Having deep, if you can have afford, space wise, to have a set of deep drawer banks, like a two drawer bank, something that has some height to it, is comes in really handy. So you want to definitely optimize for the things that you don't yet own. And of course, you can't optimize for everything, and you might own a lot of these things, but there's going to be stuff that comes up. But think about that if you're planning out a kitchen, you're in the stage where you're designing, you're planning, you got a layout, you're kind of going through the list of things that, hey, I tell clients, like, think about each cabinet. You kind of cross it off when you're done. What's going to be stored in there? And if you have a cabinet that you're unsure of, that's okay, because that can be a cabinet that in the future is available for, something that you're going to use. And I think it's just smart planning to plan for things like this. Now, of course, you can't cover all the bases and you can't cover for everything that's out there, but just think about the juicers out there. And think about someday I might want a juicer or sandwich maker or whatever, a different kind of coffee maker or something like that. And try to plan for those things in advance. So as you're optimizing for workflow, and as you're optimizing for storage and worktop, and as you're optimizing for appliance placement and for the visibility and ventilation, also optimize for the things you don't yet own. So I hope that's just a little bit of insight there, a little bit of value, a little bit of just what goes on in my brain. And I was happy that this happened because it sort of allowed me to think a little bit more about the process of designing a kitchen. Now, it's not just about the things that I have now or the things I'm getting rid of, but it's also about the things that are coming in. So think about that, because you're probably in that boat. If you have a kitchen now that's like not renovated, or you're just living in a kitchen, the and Helen, this, just came up, but a lot of you probably had this situation where you purchase something, you're not sure where it's supposed to go, and then you have to kind of get creative. Well, what I want to do now is look at some creative ways to store items, and I'm going to share my screen here on Amazon. I'm going to bring up a bunch of these. So, in any kitchen, there's always spaces, narrower spaces in a kitchen, where you have certain size cabinets, but you end up in your design with maybe a narrow cabinet, something less than 24 inches, less than 18 inches even. It could be even as small as 3 inches. And I want to cover those tonight and talk about those areas in your kitchen where you can optimize for storage in those smaller areas and maybe allow for, you know, more optimized storage in the larger spaces. Because when we design a kitchen, I always like to have the widest drawer banks, the widest of everything. But oftentimes, these smaller cabinets, if they have a real specific use, can be really, really beneficial if you use them right. And a lot of these things that I'm going to look at tonight are things that you can also, you can purchase them from Amazon or get them at your local store. And a lot of times, you can retrofit them into your kitchen if it's not a full reno. If you just want to add something that's useful. All right, so let me just jump into this. Let me share my screen. The first one here is this one, which is the pull-out tray divider. I'm going to look at four different options for these. So this is the tray divider. I love every kitchen should have a tray divider, and my opinion is that every tray divider should be a pull-out. So it's one thing to just put dividers in a cabinet and them, you can reach in, but to have that thing pull out, I want things pulling out, I want things coming down, pulling up, pulling out, pulling out, pulling around, pulling whatever. I just want to make sure that in a kitchen things are accessible. So yeah, storage is accessible, and we. Sorry, I got sidetracked by some comment. Thank you. I was just noticing I have some gray coming in, so I'm not too happy about that. All right, moving right along. I'm going to be blushing here. Having pullouts like this, that you can store these items in that pull out are very awesome. So this one here is a Link Professional, and I'm not saying that these are awesome or not awesome. Some of them probably I will say are better than others because of the brand name. And this is all on Amazon.com. So if you're in Canada, be Amazon.ca. The links for all of these, by the way, are in my description. They're all affiliate links. You can click on them if you want. There's no harm to you. But if you do purchase something through an affiliate link, the creator, me in this case, does get a commission from Amazon. Nothing. You're just buying something. Okay, so I have to say that because it's the law. Okay, so here we go. The Link Professional Slido cutting board. This is just one of the options that you can get. Easy to install. I like this one because just four screws on the bottom of your cabinet and you're done. So you want to make sure that you have this thing in, a cabinet that's narrow. So this is 10 inches. A 12-inch cabinet would be perfect for this. Or if you have a wide cabinet, you could put it on one side if you want it to, just to, one side of the door. It's another way that you can do that. But having a pull-out tray divider is, I think, a great way to store trays, sheet goods, cutting boards, anything that needs to be stored vertically or is easier to store vertically. Because a lot of you probably have your storage of these things in a cabinet or in a drawer, or maybe under a stove. They're laying flat, and there's just a better way to do it, a little more convenient way to do it. So the next one we'll look at is this one, and hopefully you can. It didn't change. How come? If I can get to. Oh wait, no, I know what. Bear with me here while I open this next one. The next one is. Oh, didn't. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll have to do it this way. Hold on, everyone. Just wait while I get to the next one. I'll have to copy and paste it into the thing here. That's not what I wanted. What the heck? Let's try this. Keep clicking on things. There we go. My bad. I'll have to cut that out or something. Who cares? We're all friends here. This is another one here. This is by Nap and Voigt. Nap and Voigt is a very good brand name, so I can say that this one's probably a good quality one. This particular one is 6 inches wide, so this is really great for those narrow areas that you have leftover space for, that you want to be able to install something, and it doesn't require a cabinet, like, it needs, like, it doesn't have a side box to it, so it's very narrow. It can fit into a narrow space. So as long as you have something you can mount the rail on the bottom, this is a wider version, but this one's only 6 inches wide. So I think this is a really great thing for, you can get a 9 inch here, I see too. So the 9 inch is what's in that picture. Both of these are great. Great for storing trays, great for storing things that are just, you have to be able to access. So that's another good one, and that's a good brand name. And let's look at the next one here. Let's jump up, paste that one in. This is another one here. This Hardware Resources. I'm not sure of this brand name. This is a little more heavy duty looking. And I like this one because if you have two cabinets that have a space between them, and you put a filler in, like, there's no cabinet there, there's no box. So this attaches to this outside gables, the outside of the cabinets, and acts as a filler. So it's a 5 inch wide, soft close, full, full extension pullout that you can mount a door front on the front of it here. You can see there it has mounting hardware, capabilities. So you can mount the drawer front, and it allows you to, sorry, you can see these rails. These will mount onto the side of the cabinet, like on the outside between the two cabinets. So you can use this as a filler. So you put a filler on the front, and that filler pulls out. So this is a great way to, make use of those areas in your kitchen. And this one here is what? This is a 4.5 star. I think the other one, they were all about 4.5 stars. So they're all pretty good rated. I won't get into going reading the ratings on this, but you can see there yourself. Let's do another one. I got a few of these here I want to just look at. So this next one, all right, this is a little wider. This is 11. inch, 22-inch deep, I believe. So this one here, pull-out wooden basket. So again, just another way to store it. It mounts fairly easily here. It mounts to the bottom of the cabinet, has a nice glide system there, full extension. And there it is in all its glory. Here it is attached. So you can attach the drawer front to it, which is great. And you can just store things vertically. And this one here, they're storing their like tin foil and saran wrap and those types of things. And then you also have baking sheets, cookie sheets, yeah, the foils and wraps. So I want you to think through your kitchen. There could be a place where this is really important. And if you're doing a new renovation, and in your renovation, you're ending up with this space. And the reason you might have the space due to symmetry of other cabinets, it's just due to the measurements. Sometimes, if you're dealing with stock cabinets, a lot of the times you have these leftover areas, and you need to do something with them. And these are great solutions that you can do things with. So this is a 5-star rating. Only has one rating, so hard to know how good it is. But the one person who bought it, who rated it, thought it was awesome. It might be them. And this last one is this one. So a little different. This just mounts to the bottom. It's a little lower. It's made of wood, like a wooden box kind of style. And you can see here, hey, they put in two of them on each shelf. I think that's great. You can store your pot lids. You can store your smaller trays. So really great way to store these things. This one has only 6 ratings, but still 4.8, which is decent. So, it has the cabinet sizes, of course. You want to pay attention to that. And I don't know, something there. And there, oh, wow. There it is there. So 20-inch deep, pulls out full extension. So these are just ways that you can just make use of those spaces, from something very narrow up to something a little wider. This is 10 inches, but anywhere from, so this is spaces that are less than 12 inches wide. And a lot of us in our kitchens have these. And so these are all things that probably most of you could probably use in your kitchen even now to make your kitchen a little more functional, kind of retrofit your kitchen in terms of just adding some of these simple solutions. So the next one we want to look at, so that was like tray dividers. And if you're doing a kitchen renovation and you're dealing with a designer, you're dealing with a manufacturer, a cabinet maker, ask about pull-out tray dividers and where are the best places to store them in your design, in your layout. And you might find that this is a really great way to do it. Now, the next thing we want to cover, because we all have these, is the cutlery. And I'll show you this here. We'll jump on. Oh, how come it didn't work? What's going on? Let's try this again, everybody's. Copy that. All right, cutlery. We've seen these before. These are beautiful. This is a 4-star 59 rating. This is a Reva shelf, so it is a good quality product. Maybe might be pertinent to read the reviews on things like these. These are expensive. They range from $500 to $600, and so this is not a cheap option. You can buy these through Home Depot as well, like in their kitchen department. They'll order these for you when they're doing kitchens, and most manufacturers will do similar things. But I really love this. This would be for like a 12 inches to 15-inch, I think is the best use for these things to give you the most benefit. This particular one here has the knife block in it, has a little cutting board that's attached, and the place for your cutlery, which I think is excellent. Here's a picture of it here. Bowls on the bottom, and a little different option here. So this is a different model that, or maybe they're just able to, you can move the things around. But this one here, yeah, has the knife blocks in the front, and I love these. I would love to have one of these in my kitchen. These are becoming, pretty popular, and they're worth looking at in a display in a showroom if you want to see them here. Mounts to the door, has a door mount that's adjustable, which is always good in case you need to, adjust that later on, because adjusting doors is something that will come up for you in your kitchen. And make sure you have the specifications, soft close mechanism. I don't know if Reva Shelf use Bloom hardware, excuse me, or not, but they have good hardware, and that's just showing you that there's a little. I think that's showing you the cutting board that comes with it. Maybe I don't know why they're cutting lemons, or it was that a potato. I don't know why they're cutting potatoes, but they are. Oh, there's a little video. I mean, there you go. Doesn't get any better than that. Boop. Put the knife in there. Yeah, nice and gentle on the knives. So I think that's these are great. I love these. Now there's more. Let's keep looking at the next one here. So that'd be my go-to. I think those are awesome. But the next one is Here, just a different version of the same thing. It's the rubbish shelf, but this one's a 5 inch. So again, this is where you have those spaces for fillers that you have this 5 inches in a kitchen is an odd space. 6 inches. These are hard to fill, and you know usually it means going with you could get a bigger cabinet, but then there might not be clearances enough between or the symmetry might be off, but if there's not clearances, usually it's because there's a corner involved. And if it throws off symmetry for some reason, it might not be the way you want to do it. But if you have these spaces, like this is a great one, 5 inches, you have your cutlery, you can put in just like the one before, gives you all this extra storage in these space so that the things that you're going to buy later, like the juicer, you don't have to have all your cutlery in that place. You can have it in somewhere else that makes a little more sense. So this one has a 5 inch and an 8.5 inch option. So you have these, and these are expensive. They are Rev Shelf, and are they overpriced? Maybe, I'm not sure, but they have good ratings and they're a pretty good product. But they are, a pretty expensive product, which is relative. Price is relative. Um, so here you go. It mounts the drawer front really, really nice. So let's go to the next one because I want to show you a few more of these. All right, so this one here, again, this is not a Rev Shelf, so another hardware resources. I think this is a fairly decent brand. I don't know for sure. These only have this only has one rating, but it's a 5 star, so at least that's pretty good. Again, it might be them. Made of birch, whatever. It's all good. Has the mount on the front here that you can see for your door placement. Has a little shelf on the top for your all your cutlery that goes in the bins, and you know, these are all the same type of ideas, but I think these are great. This one's a 5 inch, so again, just another option. But and these are expensive too. Wow, really expensive for these cutlery trays. Let's see what this next one is, and we can see here. All right, let's see this one. There we go, $605. So you're gonna spend a lot of money to store cutlery. However, it's if you're doing a kitchen renovation or you want to spend some money to upgrade your kitchen, these are some of the ways that you can do it. If you're not changing your cabinets, you're not changing your countertop, but you want to add some things to your kitchen to make it a little more function, have a little bit of money to spend on a little bit of budget, these are definitely ways to do it. And I think in the long run, these are worth it. This one here is more of looks a little more industrial looking, but just another way of doing it. This one doesn't attach to the door, so you open the door and you pull it out. So that's oh, this one, okay, they're showing a few different options. Okay, so this one does attach to the door as well. I prefer the door attachment model, so if you're going to attach it, that's good. Oh yeah, they're attaching it, cool, or not. So I guess there must be hardware. Yeah, you can see the hardware there on the front that you can mount it on. So that's awesome. These have all the bins here for your cutlery, and grab a spatula, away you go. You're good to go. All right, the next one we're going to look at here is spices. What do I do with my spices? Where do I put them? And they seem to cause havoc in any kitchen, and so there's a lot of great solutions here for these narrow areas in your kitchen, these kind of forgotten areas that become fillers or become spaces that are hard to deal with. So, yeah, and this is Amazon.com, by the way. So if you're on .ca for you Canadians, or if you're somewhere else in the world, you have to go to your own site. But this is on the US. So if you're in Canada, these are probably going to be way more expensive. This one is for 4.5 inches, so really, really narrow. So this is really great. Lots of options here for your Pringles and all your other little things here, your beans and your lentils. So just narrow storage. Again, this could be for spices. This could be for, your beans and your sprouts and all the other things like that. Just to pull out, this one looks like it's behind a door. That's a wider version there because they come in a bunch of different widths. But I like this filler version because it can attach to a filler. The whole thing can pull out. And I think that's a really great option to do that. So this is great for spices and things that you want to store like that. Let's look at the next one. A lot of times we store spices just in a cabinet, and I like spices in a drawer. I think that's a great way to store it on, the kind of that's the same one, my bad. On the drawer insert that keeps them on a 45-degree angle. I think those are really, really, a great way to store spices if you have a drawer for it. Here's another option here. This one here is a nice little wooden handle, and I don't think this one attaches to the door. But you can see there different widths. This one's $80. So, okay, this is a pretty reasonable price range for anybody, I think. Spending $500 on an accessory that for your kitchen is one thing. Spending $80 is a totally different, set of circumstances, in my opinion. I mean, not that $80 isn't a lot of money, but a lot less than 500. So just consider that. Plus, it's on sale, 10% off. Tons of different sizes, all the way up to 31 inches, holy smokes, but down to 7 inches, which is really what I wanna, concentrate on, these narrow spaces. So again, just more options that you can choose from. I like this one because both of these pull out separately from one another, so the top and the bottom are not, connected, so they all pull out. So I think for $80, this is a really good pullout that I would definitely consider, like, for my own kitchen because of the fact that they're separated like that, where all the other ones all pull out. I love the fact that they did that. Now, how sturdy is this hardware? Hard to know. It looks like pretty standard run of the mill hardware, but you know what? It's not gonna hold a ton of weight if it's spices and things like that. So I think it's probably worth the investment, in my opinion. So that's one of my favorites, and these are all linked down below. That's spice pullout number 3. This is number 4 coming up here, and we'll look at this one. And that one has, yeah, pretty good rating too. Let's see here. Yeah, this one's awesome. This is the 3-inch one. This is definitely one to consider if you have a filler, and almost every kitchen has some place that you can put a 3-inch filler in, and if you do have some space like that, this could be a go-to for you. So your filler will attach to the front. They put a little handle that matches it on this one. You can see here they got the little handle that matches their hardware, which is kind of cute. This It'd be nice. You could probably install a little piston so this could just be a push mechanism, so it looks like just a filler, and that's another way to do it if you want to go that route. And there you have it. Just you know, $313, but really great use of space. To me, this is better than spending that money on a toe kick drawer because this is more accessible than a toe kick drawer. And so, like we're talking about storage accessibility when we're trying to optimize for design layouts, this would be one way to do it. So, because the toe kick drawer I get asked about, a lot too, and I'm not a huge fan of the toe kick drawer, only that it's it's on the floor, and what else is on the floor? Well, mice are on the floor. Well, they're everywhere. Dust is on the floor more than other places. Everything falls to the floor, and it gets. So I just think overall, it's not the most sanitary place I think in the world underneath your cabinets, maybe. But it's on the floor, and you got to bend down to get it, and it's great for small things. So it's if you have the space, you want to put a toe kick drawer in it, that would be the thing to consider. But this, if if you have to do one or the other, I would definitely go with something that would fit into a filler. I think that's a great way to do it. Really, really great way. So let's go to the next one here, and I will find it. So that's the spice bullets. Now, there's only three more, and these are just kind of random ones, but I think they're worth showing. And the last one is really specific. All right, so let's just put this one up. If you watch my Saturday video, there is kind of the wooden version of this in the corner, this Lazy Susan that has this center pullout mechanism. And you know me, you know my thoughts about Lazy Susans. I just have a thing. I just have a chip on my shoulder about them. And it is what it is. So that's just the way it is. But I want to be fair and say that hey, there's solutions out there that if you have a cabinet like this, there are options for you that you don't just have to have a regular Lazy Susan. You could put in something like this, something that pulls out and allows you for pretty awesome storage. So you see here, it just shows you the different ways that this is configured, and then it can rotate so you can have access to things there. And you know used correctly, this can be very good. So I think if you can kind of use this in such a way where you're maximizing the capabilities of this, I think it's pretty cool. I like the fact that this center part pulls out because that is, you know, Again, they pull out separately, which is good, but this is the part of the Lazy Susan where, you're reaching in. Yes, you're reaching in. Yes, it is more accessible. Yes, the round part does come out, in front of the 90-degree cutout. However, this is something definitely to consider. Now, if you check the price of this thing out, it's $1,300. So it's no small, fee. I'll leave it at that. Pretty cool though. I mean, I don't know if it's worth that much money, but definitely worth looking at. I didn't see the wooden one on there, but the wooden one was the one I seen on my video, and I assume they're similar in price. All right, this next one is just something that every kitchen should have an abundance of, and your kitchen probably has these, but I like this one. This is just a pull-out, drawer pullouts, and so if you have a pantry of base cabinets, you have any kind of cabinet that you have space for, and you know what? You need to have a pullout in there, and so this pullout I thought kinda caught my eye because it has this separate, you know, pull out inside a pullout. It's kind of like the old IKEA trick with the drawer inside the drawer. And so here you can see it kind of in action. Bigger stuff on the bottom, but you have this extra little storage space. So, it's an option that's out there that you might find useful. Now, if you have taller items, this wouldn't be something that you'd want to use. So you have to just consider that when you're planning out your storage. Like we talk about planning the storage out, the height of items is really important. But this thing comes in a variety of widths as well. It comes in 11, it comes in up to 23. And so you have a lot of options for that. But having any type of pull-out mechanism in your cabinets is going to be a game changer for you if you don't already. And if you're planning a kitchen, it's basically a no-brainer. I think we're at the point now in time where we're designing kitchens that not too many people would have a kitchen that just has a big empty base cabinet with nothing in it. And so that's why they have these items out there. There's a lot of items out there that you can just install, and most cabinet makers will have these that you can, a variety of these that you can choose from. But it's important again to look at the heights of things, look at what's going to be stored in those cabinets. But something like this one could be beneficial for you if you think you have use for it. It caught my eye just because it was a little bit different than some of the other ones that are out there. So you can take that one. There's even a couple videos now because I'll get copywritten or something. Uh, okay. Well, I was just going to show you a little bit of the installation process. Clip-on glides. You mount the hardware, you stick it in, you pull it out, voila, you got to pull out. So nothing rocket sciencey about that. Just a pretty basic installation. So, and there's lots of them out there, but this is a no-brainer. You have to have pullouts. Now, the last one, very specific, Helen, you're going to need one of these if you got that stand mixer, and that's because it is a stand mixer. And nope, that's not a stand mixer. Let's just go stand mixer. I'll just type it in there. What's this? Dog boots. Oh my goodness, funny. Let's see, stand mixer. Oh, oh, that's a stand mixer. No, we want to lift. Mixer. Lift. Come on, keyboard, work. Work. Here we go. This would be the thing that we're talking about. It's basically just a mixer lift, or an appliance lift. So back to the juicer situation. This could be something that you could use for your juicer. Doesn't have to be a stand mixer. You can use this for your coffee maker. You could use this for a microwave. If you mounted that microwave sideways on it, it could be something for a microwave to store away. This could be something that you could use for a variety of different reasons. And if you have a cabinet that would fit, that's an easy accessory to add. This one, they've even now this isn't included on the bottom here, but they have this extra pullout that you can put on the bottom because when this thing's closed, you have room on the bottom to do that. Now, what I do recommend is that if building code allows you to have an outlet inside so that it can just be plugged in on the inside instead of having a cord run out on the outside. But worst case scenario is you just have to plug it in. There's some specs there that you don't really care about. But this is definitely something you should consider if you have some kind of appliance that you don't want to store on your countertop, but you need about 18 inches of space to store this thing, and it's $200, which actually I think is pretty reasonable for what you're getting. It's very good hardware. They flip up. It's very solid. You can push it down. It has a soft close kind of mechanism, so it's not banging into the cabinet. and it's very, very, you know, it's a very useful unit to have. Again, doesn't have to be just with, a stand mixer. It can be a variety of different things, and so something to consider. So this is where if you're future proofing your kitchen, and you want to think about, well, I don't have a stand mixer yet, but someday I want to get one. Then even if you're thinking about down the road, but you don't have it, you're designing a kitchen, think about it now in terms of, if I do get one down the road, where is it going to go? And then plan for it in such a way that you could put it in later on, so that you have, an 18-inch cabinet. Maybe it has pullouts, maybe it has, maybe it's a drawer bank. It could be a variety of different things, but there's a space there that could be retrofit later on and repurposed in a way that would be useful for you if you did get a mixer lift like that. So those are the items I wanted to show you. And I think those are all really good things to think about if you are, retrofitting things in your kitchen. You're designing a new kitchen. You have a kitchen now. You just want to kind of upgrade a little bit. Lots of areas that you can, use in your kitchen that are a little bit wasted, and you could maybe reclaim some of that to make it functional and useful for you, so you have the most optimized kitchen possible. And it's a step by step process. Even with a brand new kitchen, I can design a kitchen. You can have someone else design a kitchen. We can look at 100 different times until you get in there working in it. You realize, this would probably work better if I did this. And it's not something you really know beforehand, because you just didn't have the experience of using that particular layout or that particular space. And so, if you think in terms of, well, down the road, I might want to add something. This is, just giving you some advice now, so that when you get that mixer lift, you're not going, what am I going to do with this thing? What am I gonna do with this thing? Helen has a question.